Good evening. I'm Brian Alvarez. I'm a police officer of the National Police of Colombia, and I'm here to talk you about this presentation and explain you that how a company of cell phones can sell in another countries. That's what we call as internationalize the company. In a first point, what medium we are going to use? We are going to market the product abroad. Well, that's easy first of all, because we chose a country, our first country, that it's going to export our product. It must be it must be a country that has a relation with our government. Well, United States have a good relation, and we have international trade with the United States between government of United States and government of Colombia. For that reason, it's easier to us to market the product abroad. Well, in a second point, that our first competitive advantage is that we are going to give some options to the client, to the person who buys us. Like what option? Well, we are going to export a product. That product, it could be beyond the client at the day that they want it. What I mean, if a person buys something on the internet and that person is waiting for it, that person could be the possibility to say us in what date he or she wants to receive the product. Okay, the product it could be received with a few days or a large date between a range of hours. In the third point, what market country will I take it into and why? Well, like here we can see in the picture at the present, and since 2012 the free trade agreement has finally been signed. Well, the process were since 2006, but in 2012 we can export easier with United States. For that reason, we chose United States like our first option, mainly in the East Coast. Why the East Coast? Well, the East Coast has a lot of Latin American people, South American people, from Colombia, from Venezuela, from all the countries that it's Latin America. That person of that kind of population that we are going to sell help us because there is something of regionalisms to talking about buying something. Okay, where will I locate the company and why? We are going to locate the company, well, firstly in Colombia. That's logical, but we are going to take advantage of something. We have think about that Colombia had Colombia has three. Listen good. Colombia has three ports, and Colombia is the only South American country that has two oceans. Well, for that reason, we are going to locate our company in Barranquilla, Santa Marta, and Cartagena because there are three ports. Well, Colombia has four ports, one in Buenaventura, but how we are going to export in east coast of the United States, it's so good for us establish our product in the coast of Colombia. Well, what steps will I follow to internationalize? Well, the first steps, number one, set and set and prioritize the main business growth guideline. We are going to focus in what we want and what we want to internationalize. Well, in the second step, we are going to provide financial resource in the acquisitions of international agreements. Well, maybe we have some resource in here Colombia, in Barranquilla, that the stores that we have established there. But if we want to make a good internationalization in other countries, that it's going to cost something, and that cost some money. That's the second step. In the third step, we're going to supervise and establish a control regime in the export of the products. What could be happen here? Well, if we export in another country, that it's some risk. That risk means that the product is going to lost, or maybe someone is going to sell the product in another form. Maybe that someone is going to steal us. That is some difficult to control, but we have to focus in that after we reach United States. And the final step that I follow to internalize is once we stay there in United States, we are going to try keep us there. We are going to hold the market in United States, because the hardest thing is not how you are going to reach something. The hardest thing is how you are going to hold there. Okay, that's the first step, and in my opinion, the main step. Well, what market? What may I think that I could succeed? Well, some people is trying to imitate another bigger enterprises, but we are going to make something different. We are going to innovate. We are going to make new things. We are going to make a new polished. That's something that is going to help us to make better things. And I think that we could succeed because uh, it's easier to think only in here in Colombia. Trying to sell here in Colombia is the same thing. That is the same thing. You are going always to say the same thing. But if you think that United States is another opportunity to grow up your finances resources and your finances company, well, that it's good for our company. Well, why does this market represent an opportunity? Like as you say, United States is a good country. It's the first country of economic talking about. They have the biggest economic. The second one is China, but in this moment and so far is United States. We have a lot of opportunity in the United States, and as you can see, there is so much comparatives with how much enterprises or how much company has succeeded in that country. Bigger companies, 605, and like we established almost here in Colombia, we are going to be a medium company, and there is 794 comparative with the last year with the 2012, since the international trade with the United States started. With the possibility of growing the region is so much. There is a lot of Latin American people there. The financial of United States is so good, and we are going to keep there as first country. Well, what are the risks from a political and competitive point of view? Maybe the United States is fighting with China. They have a like saying Cold War, but United States have so much advantage than China. Which internalization model I think I'm going to follow? Well, the joint ventures. Uh, this model of internalization is that there is the possibility of integrating two or more companies to form a single company where they are already established in American territory to facilitate the entry of mobile products. We have to take advantage of that in another companies that help us to grow up. Well, how will I carry out the stage of internalization? Well, I will carry out the internalization first with the importation. When starting the importation of our products, we will get in touch with foreign contributors and we can contextualize the international growth. Then, if we export our products with the help of another companies, the image of the company will be recognized in another countries, furthermore in the United States. We import if we export of products in the United States, the people are going to think, hey, what is that company? Hey, that's a new company. Let's go into try how that company is. Oh, and then they buy our products and they are going to see that it's a good product and they are falling about the I don't know, maybe 1 year that we think the person is going to feel good buying our products. The commercial internalization, both companies are customers will demand to be able to acquire our products in their own city, which have to install these countries. That's why this is how we are going to put our stores in another country. That's going to make us success. Well, and in the final stage is the globalization of the company. When we state in the main um, trade in the main trade of the world of the entire world, that's going to give us an opportunity to be an enterprises that is not going to be only in United States, maybe in Europe, in Africa, maybe in Asia. That is something so good for us, establish it in the first and the main trade of the world. Its management is carried out globally, establishing production and research centers in those places that the company considers most convenient without any restriction due to its geographical origin. Well, that is a point of view of how we can establish a good company here in Colombia and how we can internalize in another countries. I thank you so much for you listening me, and I hope that this information could be to help of you. And that's all. Have a good day to my classmates and to my teacher. Good night.